Are you serious? Are you serious? We've got breaking news coming out of Hawaii. This is not good. Breaking news coming out of Hawaii. The summit on the Hawaii volcano on the Big Island, the summit has collapsed. I repeat, the summit has collapsed, causing an incredible situation. A 5.3 earthquake had already hit the summit, and ash and plume, and it was an eruption on the summit. But then we've had a collapse of the summit. It has collapsed. I repeat, breaking news coming out of Hawaii. The summit has collapsed on the Big Island on the volcano. This is not good. Now, let me tell you what the breaking news coming out of Maui, according to Maui Now, the summit has collapsed, releasing an energy that was equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. Now, earlier, about 6 hours ago, we had a 5.3 earthquake. As a matter of fact, right on the summit. Matter of fact, if you were watching our live show earlier today, you know that I told you that too many earthquakes, there's way too many earthquakes. The mountain was shaking like this. It was going to blow. There was going to be another earthquake. There was going to be another volcanic eruption. And yes, it happened. Just about 2 hours after I went off the air this afternoon, actually just not long after I went off the air, what happened about 6 hours ago, there was a 5.3 earthquake that hit the summit of this volcano there in Hawaii. But now, folks, it has collapsed. It has collapsed. The summit has collapsed, creating another energy equivalent to a 5.4 quake. According to Maui Now, I'll put the link down below, but according to Maui Now, the summit has collapsed, releasing an energy that was equivalent to 5.4 earthquake, although it wasn't an earthquake. It was a collapse of the summit. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory reports that a collapsed event on the summit occurred, and there was no tsunami generated from it, from the seismic event that released energy equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake, according to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. I repeat, no tsunami, but the collapsing, which it's been in the process of imploding and collapsing, but it just had another collapsing event. Now, as I said, 6 hours ago, there was a 5.3 earthquake eruption. But then, since then, there's been a collapsing of the summit. I repeat, the volcano summit has collapsed, creating a collapsing event, is what they're calling it. According to Maui Now, the summit has collapsed, releasing energy equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. Everybody get some coffee and calm down. But this is huge, and it's going to continue to go on. I'm telling you, it's not going to end. And the next dangerous situation we're looking at here is that there could be a massive landslide, and part of this, part of the Big Island could just break off into the ocean, which would create a massive tsunami, 3, 4, 5, 600 feet high, sending a wave racing toward the west coast of the United States. Now, this has been talked about by several meteorologists, climatologists, seismologists, volcanologists. They all know this is very possible. And so the cauldron area there has been collapsing, okay? It's been expanding. It's been collapsing slowly, okay? It's been doing it like this. But this afternoon, we had a big one, okay? A release that created the energy, and it would be called, really you would call this kinetic energy, but they're not using that term, but that's what it would be called. Just like when the Twin Towers, when they fell on 9/11, the energy from the fire, and when it collapsed, That's called kinetic energy, built up energy. Well, when a volcano summit, when it collapses, that's the same thing. It's called kinetic energy, and that's really what's happened here. The Hawaii volcano summit has collapsed, releasing kinetic energy equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. The only good news I can say comes out of this is it did not create a tsunami. But let me tell you what it does do. It starts to plug the hole again. As when every time it implodes and there's a collapsing event, that means a lot of earth and rock and mountain falls into the crater and starts to suffocate it. But we all know that won't put it out. The bowels of this monster is rumbling, and the pressure will build now, and you could have a major eruption in the next 3 or 4 days. And that's the danger when you're dealing with a collapsing summit. There's also the possibility of a tsunami. There's also the possibility of a massive eruption throwing lava and magma and brimstone and smoke and ash and plumes and fumes and fog and smog and volcanic fog and haze and lays, those little Pele hairs of glass that can get in the eyes or in the lungs. And so this is a very serious situation, folks. It's a very, very, very serious situation. So a 5.3 eruption happened, and now a 5.4 energy release equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. The summit has collapsed again, a major collapse, and this is really going to get ugly, okay? And unless this thing doesn't stop pretty soon, we really are running higher and higher and higher risk of a breaking off of the island, a massive landslide into the Pacific Ocean, and then you're talking mega tsunami, which would be racing toward the west coast of the United States. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I'm telling you, it's not good. This thing needs to end. It needs to come to an end, and it's not. Matter of fact, there's no end in sight. So I'm just now breaking in 7 minutes ago. I have a live broadcast that's going to start in about an hour and 20 minutes. We'll be live at 10 p.m. Eastern. But I felt like I needed to go ahead. President Trump may be still speaking. I was watching his speech down there in Florida. He was giving a great speech down there, rallying the people. And again, explaining all the great victories that the United States is experiencing under the Trump administration, and how that, this is huge. Now, is Yellowstone, could this trigger Yellowstone? Well, Yellowstone is in the news, and I'm going to actually be talking about that at 10 o'clock, because there's some issue there too. I think the two are somewhat related. They're not supposed to be completely connected, but there's just too much energy. You've got the epicenter of the apocalypse. The epicenter of the apocalypse is the Big Island of Hawaii. It's right in the center of the ring of fire, and this thing won't end. And surely it's connected. The magma's moving. You know, are you serious? Everybody get some coffee. Calm down. And that's a great question. Bloody Mary Paranormal just asked the question, why isn't the press reporting this? The press is suppressing this. First of all, because they're afraid it's going to completely dry up the tourism for all of Hawaii. And really it won't. I mean, they should just be honest with the people. We're talking the Big Island. The Big Island is suffering. But the rest of the islands of Hawaii are fine. Why aren't they telling this? Why aren't they sharing this? Well, they don't want to get into the bigger debate of what's going on here. How come this volcano doesn't end? And is there something else going on? And is Planet X or Nibiru got anything to do with this? Because remember, David Meade, who we had on this show in January, told us this was going to happen. And it did happen. So we brought him back on in June. And he said, Paul, it's not over. It's going to keep going. And I said, well, when's it going to end? He said, it's not. Do you guys remember that? He said, it's not going to end. It's going to get worse, Paul, because he said Nibiru, Planet X in October is going to come very close. I mean, when you say very close, I don't mean like the moon, but it means it's going to come within our solar system, the outer bands of the solar system. And this thing is so magnanimous. This thing is so huge that it's going to put the heavy gravitational pull. Where's my cool hat? I got it right there. I'll actually wear it at 10 o'clock. So that's what's going on, guys. This is really what's going on here is you've got a situation that is of a biblical proportion. Again, let me read to you. I know I'm drinking coffee late, but there's so much going on. I can feel the hype here that we got to stay on top of this. But again, Maui now is just now reporting that the summit, the Hawaii Volcano Summit, has collapsed. I repeat, it has collapsed, releasing an energy equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. I'm actually going to grab the link right now, and I'm going to throw it in the chat room for you. You can here we go. Here it is. There it is. And so this is this collapsing created what's known as kinetic energy, or kinetic energy is when something you got a lot of energy when a building, a skyscraper, or any building standing there, or any mountain. You know how much pressure of gravitational pull is on a mountain as it sets there. If something causes it to collapse and shift, it's a massive amount of kinetic energy. On 9/11, when those twin towers, when they came down because they were under severe kinetic energy. So we had a 5.3 earthquake that hit the volcano and caused it to erupt about 6 hours ago. But now we've had a collapse at the summit, which is equivalent to a 5.4 earthquake. The energy, excuse me, I'm still battling just a little bit up here. I'm not sick. It's just from preaching all weekend, kind of stirring up the bronchial tubes. A lot of pollen in the air here in Indiana. Corn's high. That happens, okay? We can. It's called the preacher's croup. Don't worry, we get over it real quick. Now, but the kinetic energy is what's really the danger here, okay? And that's what we're at a very, very, very dangerous point in this Hawaii volcano saga. And when David Meade came on, we brought him on in January. He said, Paul, here's what's going to happen. There's going to be volcano eruptions. You're going to see it about midsummer. But he said that's not going to be as bad as what's going to happen in October when Planet X fully gets its closest point and really gives us some heavy gravitational pull. I said, really? And remember, I was interviewing him before the super blue blood moon. First time I ever interviewed David Meade. Well, exactly what he said was going to happen in midsummer has. May 3rd, it started in Hawaii, and it has an end. And it wasn't just Hawaii. We had that killer volcanic eruption in Guatemala. We had another massive eruption in Indonesia. There's been 3 or 4, 2 different, the Galapagos Islands had 2 different volcano eruptions 10 days apart. Of course, then Hawaii on May 3rd has never ended. It won't end. So we bring him back on in June, and I say to David Meade, David, you said these volcanoes would be erupting. They happened. 2 of them in Galapagos Islands, 1 in Guatemala, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Indonesia. Now look at the volcano in Hawaii. When's this thing going to end? When is the volcano in Hawaii going to end? He said it's not going to. His words, his word. Go back and listen to the tape in about, I think I interviewed him around June. He said it's not going to end. It's not going to. His words. It's going to keep going. It's going to get worse. And there's going to be more volcanoes erupting. As this Planet X comes into its closest proximity sometime in October. Well, why isn't anybody telling us about it? Where is the media? Where's the media tonight with the collapsing of this volcano summit? What's going on? We have blood moons, typhoons, monsoons, sinkholes in Russia, the sky turns dark in Russia, volcanic eruptions, collapsing of the summit, dead birds, dead fish, dead turtles, dead manatees. Why? Because we got the water turning blood red in Florida, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is dealing with this stuff. I'm sitting here, I'm just a little preacher in the cornfields of Indiana. I'm trying to get the message across. Something biblical is going on here with the signs of the second coming of Christ. Crickets from the media, exactly. I'll be back at 10 p.m. We'll get a full scope of everything going on. What's going on here? Something biblical is going on with the signs. I'm going to say it again. No, it's not the end of the world, but it's getting closer. This is the era of the apocalypse. I'll be right back with more at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Primetime Live. What is going on? What is absolutely going on? What? Get some coffee.